Hi, my name is Jeff Rosing. I work at 8th Bay Farm. This is my wife Melissa. Today we're going to be making a peanut stir fry. This is from our new fast food bags, and our goal is to make it at a pace where you can follow along. So we're going to go slow enough so you can put your cell phone on the counter and do all the steps with us. So we're going to start by clearing a space on the counter and then getting out the tools we need. So the first thing we need is a cutting board. We need a knife for chopping up the veggies.
I'll throw out a couple options for whatever you have.
A large frying pan. If you have a wok, that's great. We don't, so we're just using our saucepan frying pan. And a larger pot for cooking the noodles. You want multiple bowls. You'll be setting vegetables in as you go along and stirring up some of the sauce in them as well. You can use a whisk or a fork to stir. And last, just a wooden spoon, or a plastic spoon, wherever that's going to. Great.
Try to keep your bag in the fridge until you're ready to prepare your food. The sooner that you use it, the higher the nutrients will be and the better the quality of the produce will be. So you can head to the fridge and take your bag out. Inside your bag, you'll find a smaller bag.
The produce bag.
And all the vegetables, they're harvested within 24 hours of delivery, so they'll be nice and fresh. You have 8 to 10 green onions. You have a head of bok choy. You have 2 bell peppers. These are the sweet ones. We also have a jalapeno in there in case you want a little extra heat. And then some sugar snap or snow peas.
I recommend just putting these in a bowl right away. That's the peas. And the bag is compostable, so if you do compost, feel free to go ahead and throw it in the compost bin and it'll decompose.
And there's some variations too. You may use broccoli instead of the bok choy, or string beans instead of the peas. You can mix it up too, depending on what's available.
Yeah.
Now we're going to fill our pot with about 8 to 10 cups of water and get that boiling on the stove. You can measure it or you can eyeball it. I tend to just get a visual glance and see that we have enough. And while that's boiling, we'll be able to cut up our vegetables and be efficient with our time, and it goes real quick. So we throw in maybe that much water, put that back on the stove, put the top on so it boils faster, and put that on high. So we have our produce out of the bag. Now we're going to grab our other items. We have a tablespoon of non-GMO canola oil. That's what we're going to use to saute our veggies in. Then our dry ingredients in here, this is the medium-sized container. We have 1/4 cup of sugar. We have a teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cayenne pepper, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. In the next container, the largest one, we have 1/2 cup of peanut butter, 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar, and 1/4 cup of canola oil. Next, we have ramen noodles. It doesn't really matter what kind of ramen noodles you use because we're going to discard the seasoning anyway, so that doesn't really matter. Now we're going to start rinsing off our vegetables so we can get ready to cut them up. Set those things off to the side. We'll start with our peppers. And with peppers, I usually just slice them in half. You can see the seeds inside. These are sweet peppers, so the seeds are not hot here. And then you're going to want to cut out the cavities here. And then we'll slice them up. So we slice them into strips, but you're going to want to slice those in half too, because otherwise that's a really big bite. Usually what I do is I cut some of them up and then just put them all together, and you can just cut halfway down the middle. That goes fast. I'll throw that in our first bowl already. The other one. Peppers are a great source of vitamin C, which is good to keep you healthy. Helps fight off colds and all kinds of that stuff. All right. And our peppers are done just that quick. If you have any little seeds, you can just kind of knock those out. And we're on to our next item. We'll rinse the peas off quickly. And the tops, you can either just snip those little tops off, and you can see they come with a little string. So you can either do it that way and pull the string, or you can just cut off the tops like that. So whatever you prefer. And again, just to make things go fast, I usually grab a few at a time. And really the only side that you need to cut off is the one that has the little stem yet attached. So you can see sometimes those strings come off nicely. With the peas, again, you can choose to either just snap them in half. Sometimes you get a little shooting pea. Or you can cut them in half. Again, just to make it a little bit easier to eat.
Or you can eat them whole.
Or you can eat them whole, yep. Just like that. Alright, then we'll throw those in our bowl, and that one's done. Let's do the bok choy next. So, what you do is just kind of pull it away from the base. This part is the stalk, so when we say the stalk, that's what that means. And then the greens on top. You can see that, you know, some dirt gets in that part, so that's what we're going to be rinsing off. And otherwise, once it gets to the end, you can always just cut that part off. So we want to separate the greens from the white stalks. You can either do it on the board like that and kind of make it like a little T. You can also just do it right in the air like that. I usually kind of do that to make it go fast. And then we will rinse those off. Bok choy is an Asian green, and it has a lot of good phytonutrients and all kinds of good stuff. Now we'll take our bok choy stalks and we'll rinse them off in the sink. And again, just kind of getting the dirt out of there. just rub it a little bit. That's all it should need. And we'll take them back and just cut them up. I usually slice them right in half. Again, doing our same technique as we have for the other ones, doing a bunch at a time, and then 2 pieces, something like that. The stems give it a nice crunch. You can hear how crisp that is when you cut it. And then sort of put them all together in a pile. And you can put it in the bowl. So we finished cutting up our stalks, and the size of the dices look about like that. We're going to start rinsing our greens now. And really the dirt doesn't get on the greens very much, so this doesn't need a whole lot of rinsing. Kind of do a little bit all over, and that should be good.
Bok choy is a great Asian green with lots of vitamin K, C, and A.
I usually just put it in a big bunch like this, and then just make slices all the way down. And just move it across the board. Clearly we're not being very technical here. You can cut them up into little 1-inch squares or so, but basically make a big pile and just go to town cutting it up a little bit.
And they will wilt considerably when they're being sauteed.
Alright. So that's pretty good. Put that in there.
You could also use the broccoli head instead of the bok choy at this point. Broccoli is also a nutrient-dense vegetable. It's really good things to list. It's especially high in vitamins B6 and B1. There's a lot of vitamin E, there's calcium and iron in it.
So if you're going to use the broccoli, really all you'd have to do, you can just pull those little stalks off. Some people like them with a longer stalk. Some want to cut off a little bit off the end. But basically, you know, you can just pull. You don't want to grab like a huge head like this because that's going to take a lot longer to stir fry, but just some small ones. Or even if you do get a bigger one like this, you know, you can cut a little bit off the end and then even just cut it in half so that it's not quite as big. You can do that too. So we'll take the rubber band off our green onions. This is our last vegetable to cut up. We'll rinse them off. You can see there's a good amount of dirt there, so just use your hand and try and get some of that off. You might even some of that comes right off, which is fine because we don't need that anyway. We would have to cut it off anyway, so kind of get all angles. That should do it. Alright, now we're going to cut these up. We'll start right at the end. You can just take these little ends off like that. I usually do that part first. It seems to make the rest of it go quicker. Now what you'll probably be able to see, I mean there's some of them, they have almost like a little skin. And if you see that, that's a little bit brown, you can just pull that off. So you can see here too, just a little bit of that brown skin. You can just pull that off. The rest look pretty good. Let's throw those in the compost. Now with green onions, you cut up most of them, but not all the way to the tip. So maybe about 3/4 of it. Oh, this one looks like it has a little bit too. So maybe we'll split this in about half. Get all the ends the same way here, and then just start making some cuts.
Green onions are a superfood. These have 100 times more phytonutrients than the big yellow onions you find at the store. So you definitely want to include those green stems.
Plus they add to the color of the dish. It just makes it look really pretty. So, got about that much left, and that's the part you're going to want to use. We will put that into our bowl and make a little more room on our cutting board. Do our second half. Same thing, line them up. That's good for that. Now all our veggies are cut up and we're ready to put them in the saute pan and start stir frying them. At this point we're going to turn our stove on to about medium-high heat. We'll put our oil, that was that one from the smallest container, in there as that gets hot. While that's heating up, we're going to mix our sauce together. We'll just dump that in a bowl. And then you can either take, like we said, a fork or a whisk. You know, here's the whisk. You can do it this way. I'm just going to do it with a fork today. With the wet ingredients, it might get a little bit messy, but that's all right. You just kind of move your fork around in a little circle like that, keeping it low into the bowl. That just combines the two nicely. And you can see that it's all combined really well now. We're going to take our onions and our peppers. Those are the first two ingredients that we'll put in the pan. You can see that our pan is hot. There's a little smoke that's coming from that. And here it sizzles when it drops in. I'm going to start the timer so that we can make sure we're watching what 2 minutes really looks like. We'll just kind of stir those around. I might turn it down just a little bit too. It looks like it's pretty warm. If you do use a hot pepper, the jalapeno, just want to give a little disclaimer. The seeds inside the hot pepper are very hot, and you want to make sure not to touch them with your fingers at all, or touch your eyes afterwards. You want to make sure to use your knife to get all those seeds out, because they are very hot and they will sting. So, but the sweet pepper seeds, like we said, those are fine. They don't hurt to touch at all. You can see we got about a minute left. have a wok. Those are really nice to use. We don't have one, but that's another thing instead of a big frying pan that you could use. You just want to make sure that the veggies don't stay in the same place too long, that they get burned. So that's why we're stirring them around a little bit. Time's up. So we'll throw in our next set of veggies. We'll put in the white stalk of the bok choy and the peas. Another 2 minutes for that. While this is going, you can see that our water is boiling here. So we could throw in our ramen noodles. Now remember the seasoning packs, we're just going to throw those out. We're not going to use those. We'll just put the noodles, actually, I'll get all of them open and then put them all in at the same time. Make sure we stir in between here. And with the ramen noodles, if you want to keep about a half of the pack not in the pan, that adds some nice crunch later. So we can put those in. And now we got about 10 seconds left. That's good. We're going to throw in our stems. The leaves, I mean. Here we go, the greens. And that's just going to go for even less than a minute. I mean, at this point, things are pretty well combined. And you can see how the leaves, like Jeff said, they wilt. So they start out looking so big, but they get softer and will wilt in the pan. So now the last step with this stir fry is just to throw the sauce over it. And we do that right at the end so that the sauce can kind of get incorporated with the ingredients, and we'll stir it up. You never want to leave stir fry in a pan for too long because you really want it to be crisp and have that crunch to it. If it stays in the pan too long, it will get limp and it won't be quite as appetizing, but if it's nice and crisp, that's the best way to have it. So a little may fly out of the pan, that happens. So yeah, our stir fry, you can see everything's combined well, and that's all done. So we'll turn the burner off and just set that aside a minute. And then, here, we'll just rinse crumbs off one of our spoons and finish off with the noodles. And yeah, ramen goes very fast. If you want to change it up and use other things too, you could use like some of these brown rice noodles. We've used those before. Those are really good. Or really any kind of rice. You could use that as the base and put the vegetables over. So, looks like our ramen is about done. You can either, use the top of the pot to drain them off. Or you can use a strainer if you have one. So those are ready. Make sure to turn the oven off. That's always a good idea, or the stove off. And then we can just plate it up, put it on the plate, and you're all set to go. We'll put some of these on the bottom, ever so neatly. Pasta's supposed to be kind of messy, right? And then put our vegetables on top. And then, like we were just talking about with the stir fry, it's so nice to have a little crunch. This is where that extra ramen comes in handy. You can just, you'll probably have to sweep your floor after, but put a little bit right on the top to give it a little bit of a crunch after that. Whoops, there. And voila, you made a wonderful dish, and it didn't take too long, and it's very nutritious. We hope you enjoy it.